everyone, it's Stephanie here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to Camp Create 2017. This is a week-long event on our blog and YouTube channel where we share fun crafts each day at camp, and we encourage you to take part and share your projects, and you will have a chance to win some really great prizes. So let's start off with today's craft. We are going to be doing wonderful watercolor, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a panel of watercolor. I'm going to do a rainbow galaxy background, then I'm going to use one of the sentiments from one of these great sentiment sets. They all have the same type of bold scripty font, and I think they just really stand out nicely against a watercolor background. So for my card today, I decided to go with a card size that's a little bit different than what I normally do. So I normally do an A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. But I thought it would be fun to do kind of a long card so that we really have a lot of space to create this rainbow galaxy. So I have a panel here, and I've cut it to slightly larger than 3.5 by 8.5 inches. That's what I want the panel to measure when I'm completely done and trim it down. So I made sure to keep it a little bit bigger than that, and then I taped it down to my hardboard. And I like to tape it down when I do watercoloring just to kind of keep it flat so that it doesn't warp as much. And then I'm going to use these Prima watercolors to do all of my watercoloring. I really love these watercolors. They have some really great pigment and the colors are great, and there's a ton of different colors that you can get. So I've taped down my watercolor piece here, and I have a paintbrush here that I'm just using with water right now. I'm just completely covering that entire watercolor panel with some water. And I have a little palette beside me there that I created. That's just a piece of white cardstock that I've laminated, and I just use that to kind of mix my colors on. So now I have a jar of water there, you can see, and I'm just going to mix all the colors off to the right there and just kind of work off of that palette. So I have all my Prima watercolors to the right of me. You can't see them off screen, but I am just pulling the different colors that I want to use, and then I'm just going to do all my mixing here on screen. So I'm going to start with a simple layer first. I am by no means a watercolor expert. I don't really have a lot of experience in watercoloring. What I do have experience in is just playing with color. I think it's a lot of fun. There's so many different things that you can do with different colors and the water and having the blending and the layering. I just think it's a lot of fun to play with, and I had a great time creating this card and really love the end result. So if you're not really experienced in watercolors like me and they kind of intimidate you, my best advice is just to kind of play with them. Just get out your paper, get out your watercolors, get out your paintbrushes, and just kind of have fun and see what happens. So that's kind of what I did here, and like I said, I just laid down my first colors. I want to have a rainbow effect running down this panel, and then I want to have the galaxy look. So I laid down the first color of the rainbow, and then I took my black paint and I added that around the outside edge and kind of added it into the color so that it kind of mixes in. Once I had my first layer completely down, I did dry the piece. You just want to make sure when you're doing this type of look that you are letting all of your layers dry in between adding more color. So I like to use my heat gun just to kind of speed things up, but I definitely love the look of air-dried watercolor. I just don't have the patience usually to wait for it. So I did use my heat gun, I dried that first layer, and now I'm going in with the second layer. So for this one, I added more color to the rainbow because I really want this rainbow to be really bright and saturated with pigment. And then I went around with the black once again and added more color to the outside, and then I also added some splatters to the inside. As we add more layers of color, I really want this galaxy to start forming, and I want to have a lot of that black detail mixed in with the rainbow. Now for my last layer, I wanted the colors to kind of blend a little bit more than they have been. So what I'm doing is I first layered my rainbow colors once again, and then I took my black detail and added that in and kind of let it spread farther down into the colors. And then before drying that completely, I took the rainbow colors once again and added them in so that they would mix better with the black color. And now you can see I have the panel finished. I have this really great rainbow effect with the black detail around the outside edge. And now we need to add the stars to completely make this look like a galaxy. So to do the stars, I like to use a white type of paint. I like Copic white opaque ink. I don't really know if it's like a pigment ink or an acrylic ink or what type of ink it is, but it's really great because it's really opaque white. So I really love to use this to do the star detail. So what I do is I have an acrylic block and I have the white paint, and I have a MFT box that I kind of keep on hand to do any kind of splattering because this does get messy. I recommend having something underneath your work surface or kind of wherever, because when you start to splatter, you'll see that this paint is going to go everywhere. So there's two different ways that I like to splatter. I like to kind of tap my paintbrush over top of the surface, and that gives like kind of big splatters. You can see those larger ones. And then to get the really small fine splatter, I like to put the paint onto the acrylic block and then just kind of flick it off the side, as you can see that I was doing there. Having the really fine splatter to me is what really turns this into a galaxy because it fully coats that surface. And then I always like to take my paintbrush and just add a few little lines kind of scattered through just to kind of maybe look like shooting stars or some type of galaxy thing kind of shooting through the sky. So I did add that, and then I let that fully dry. So you can see we have this beautiful rainbow galaxy background, and now we need to just add the sentiment. Now what I love about this is I have the sentiment stamped from white, and I'm going to do a coordinating sentiment on the inside from this Out of This World stamp set. I'm going to pair two stamps to say I hope your birthday is out of this world. I thought it just went really nicely with the galaxy background on the front. But because we did so much work on this background, I don't really want to cover it with a lot of things on the front, so all we're going to do is add a sentiment. So I've taken the happy birthday die and I've die cut it 3 times from white cardstock, and I'm just going to layer all of these on top of one another just to give them some dimension. Now if you find that your die cut word is kind of losing its shape, I find that it's really easy to kind of just position it back into the negative piece to do all of your gluing, and that helps to keep its shape and kind of keeps it all together and just makes it a little bit easier to glue those intricate pieces back together. And then once I have it done, you can see I have a little bit of dimension here. I have 3 layers worth of the letters stacked together. And now we're going to adhere that onto this panel. So I went ahead and trimmed down the pieces so the panel now has no white area on the outside edge, and it looks even better now that we've cut it down. I just love this end result. And I'm also going to be putting this onto a black card base, but I want to have a tiny piece of white kind of positioned underneath of there. I just think it really helps that galaxy to stand out, to have the white detail kind of matting behind the galaxy before we add it to the black background. So the finished card design is going to measure 3 3/4 inches by 8 3/4 inches. So that's what I have the black piece cut to. And then I just adhered that white matte piece directly onto the card base, and then I'm adhering the galaxy on top of that. And you can see I just have it cut slightly larger. There's not a lot of white showing. It's just enough to really make that galaxy pop off of the background. So now we just need to add the sentiment onto the center area of the card. So I'm just going to take some liquid glue and apply it to both of the words. And then I'm just going to add these to the card front. I like to take like an acrylic block or something heavy and kind of just set it on top so that the glue can really set and those letters don't shift at all. And then once I have that done, we kind of have the whole front done. We have this great galaxy detail, and we didn't take a lot away from it because we only added a sentiment into the center area. And because the galaxy is darker in color, the white sentiment really pops off of the card design. Now to do the inside of the card, like I mentioned, we're going to combine 2 sentiments from the Out of This World stamp set, and I'm just going to cut my stamps apart. You can mask off part of the stamp if you don't want to cut your stamps apart. I have no problem cutting them. I find that it's easier to do the stamping, and if I want to use them as they were intended, I can just put them back together on my acrylic block. So you can see there up on the left, I have the 2 little pieces there that I cut off of the sentiments. And when I combined them together, I was able to create the sentiment, hope your birthday is out of this world. And I think it just pairs really nicely with the front of the card. I'm just going to adhere this white panel onto the inside of the card, which is also going to allow me somewhere to write since the card base is black. And then I'm going to finish off the card with some clear sequins with silver stickle centers. Then I'm also going to add a few dabs of silver stickles kind of all over the galaxy just to add a little bit of sparkle. And then once I have that done, our watercolor card is finished. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video and enjoyed the process of creating a watercolor galaxy rainbow background. If you would like a chance to earn today's badge, just create a card using watercolor in some way and share it in the links on the blog post for today. I have all that info in the description down below. You can also be entered to win a $15 gift voucher to the MFT online store by leaving a comment on this video, and a $25 gift voucher if you leave a comment on the corresponding blog post for today. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you tomorrow for more camp fun.